Hey guys, it's Eddie and I'm back with another review. I have returned yet again. I had a day off yesterday because I was a little bit busy, but I'm back now. And today's review is going to be all about the 2016 film, The Revenant. Now, I went to see The Revenant when it first came out in cinemas, and luckily I have it on DVD too, so I was able to review it fresh for you guys. Now, for those who haven't seen the film, let me just give you a teeny tiny overview of the plot. So basically, it centres around the journey of Hugh Glass, the explorer, played by Leonardo DiCaprio, in the sort of unexplored, harsh wilderness in his attempt to get revenge. Revenge for what? You'll have to find out by watching it. Now, I have to say, first of all, that I absolutely loved this film. I know a couple of people who it wasn't kind of their thing, and I totally appreciate that. I went to see it with my mum and we both adored it. The cast is just stellar. The direction is breathtaking. I don't think I've ever seen direction quite like it in a movie before. Speaking of which, it's just cinematically stunning. It's like beautiful, spellbinding scenery, which helped the viewer, I think, personally, from my own personal experience of seeing the film, it helped the viewer sort of feel Hugh Glass's isolation. You know, there's those shots of him walking across the sort of vast expansion of the sort of snowy ground, and it just stretches for miles and miles, and the camera pans out slowly, and it makes you feel like this guy is really alone, facing all forces of nature, and it sort of really helps to create that really lonely vibe. Now, we all know that Leonardo DiCaprio got an Oscar for his performance in that film, and I completely agree with the choice of awarding him with that Oscar, because I think that, you know, if you see the film, and if you have seen it, you'll know that actually Leo doesn't actually have that many lines. His performance is kind of reduced to, you know, grunting and, you know, wild facial expressions, because for the majority of the film he's injured. Many of you will have heard about the infamous bear attack scene, and it all kind of happens after that. But what is brilliant about Leo's performance is that he could portray pain and anguish and desperation in just a look, like the widening of his eyes or a grunt, and you could see the pain on his face, you could see the struggle, and it was just immense, wordless acting. You really felt like this was a man who was, you know, struggling against all things, and it's really sad, but total testament to Leonardo's performance. I was so happy when he finally got an Oscar, and I think it's perfect that he got it for this film, because it really is just it just shows how brilliant he is and how dedicated to the craft he is, and how really talented and gifted he is as an actor. He spoke through the expression in his face, as I said, and it was just mesmerizing. You couldn't take your eyes off him, because you really believed in the really harsh and terrible story that he was portraying. Now, the cast, you know, including the likes of Domhnall Gleeson, the cast were just fantastic. They totally immersed you in this really troubled tale. And another cast member who I thought was just fantastic in his performance was Tom Hardy, playing Fitz. Now, Fitz, the typical, you know, villain in the movie, was just so funny in a really sinister way. Like, he has certain lines that make you chuckle, but you know that underneath that, you know, there is this really cruel and horrible man that you know will do anything to get his own way. You know will do anything to get the money that he thinks he's owed. And I thought Tom Hardy was just fantastic. His accent, his sort of southern drawl, was so thick, like you couldn't understand some words, and it was occasionally unintelligible, and I loved that. I thought that was brilliant. And he had this sort of wild-eyed look about him that sort of told you that this man was not to be trusted. And yeah, I thought Tom did a fantastic job. And you know, his craziness and selfish desperation really came through in the film and made him a really good villain that you wanted to see get his comeuppance. And I think that's just shows what a great actor he is, to make you want to see him, you know, get a nasty end at the hands of our hero. Now, the music score, sort of slow and you know, it's quite few and far between when you actually notice the music, but when it does, when it sort of enters that crescendo, it takes on this like ominous tone, and it really sort of makes you feel totally lost as Hugh slash Leo in the movie. And it makes you wonder, and evokes this sort of fear in you of how is this going to end, because you really don't know for the majority of the movie if you watch it first time round. Some of my friends, some of the people who I know have watched it also, said that it dragged a little bit, and I appreciate that, because it is sort of the story of mainly one man alone in the wilderness. And I understand that, you know, sometimes that can be a little bit I wouldn't say boring, but you know, maybe sometimes a little bit repetitive for people. They want to see some variety. And you know, as I said, following one man struggling for over 2 hours can feel a little bit sluggish to some cinema goers, but I was completely drawn in. I mean, I think definitely by the Leo's performance, and also there were some scenes. For example, there's a scene when Leo is at the lake, and the American natives appear, and you think, oh my goodness, something bad is going to happen here. And there were those little quick moments where you really didn't know what was going to happen, and it kept you hooked because you wanted to see this man complete his journey. And those little bursts of fear in those scenes that he wasn't going to do that really kept you drawn. It kept me drawn in anyway. Now, one scene that I will comment on is the bear scene. I think this is, as gruesome as it is, it's one of my favourite scenes, because as a cinematic battle between man and beast, it's just, you know, it's incredible. Like, I've never seen anything like it in a movie before. It was beyond captivating. It made me recoil in my seat. It was such a horrific encounter, and you thought it was going to end, and then it just carried on, and you were like, I can't cope with this. This is unreal. But it looked just spectacularly authentic. I can't even criticize, because you know, in films sometimes you know it's CGI, and it kind of spoils the experience for you. No, this looked like Leonardo DiCaprio was fighting a bear, and you were completely convinced. I was anyway. It was amazing. Without doubt, it felt real when you were watching it on screen, and Leo's screaming in agony helped that entirely. You know, sometimes you think, you know, how do these actors do it? Like, and I was like, how the hell is Leo pretending that he has just been clawed in the back by a bear and is able to convince us? And I think that just shows what an absolutely amazing actor he is. And, you know, the direction and the production team did an absolutely fantastic job throughout the entirety of the movie. Now, as I said, it's a little bit slow. It's a little bit unforgiving at times. You know, it's one you have to really endure. But if you do endure this film, it will be highly rewarding. And although it's excruciatingly taxing at times, you know, watching Hugh/Leo eat raw meat, you know, hide inside a horse carcass to keep himself warm. Um, it's, you know, it's emotionally ruining at times. It's beautiful, it's captivating, its loneliness and its isolation is haunting beyond belief, with total credit to the director for making it seem that you're just lost with him in this vast, endless wilderness. And it's just an absolutely stunning movie about a man fighting amidst the perils of nature, and overcoming them, and in the end embracing them in order to get his revenge. And it is just fantastic. If I had to give it a rating out of 5 stars, I'd probably give it 5. You know, I can give it faults. As I said, you know, some would argue that it's boring, but me personally, I didn't find it boring. You know, I've watched it a couple of times now, and not once do I find the need to, you know, let's just forward this part, you know, on the DVD. No, I never ever get bored with it. But that might differ from your opinion entirely if you watch it. And if you do, I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. Remember guys, if you have any movies that you want me to review, just leave a comment down below or message me on my Tumblr, which the link of which I will also leave in the description down below. A like and a subscribe always helps out, but that's up to you, and I will see you in the next review. Bye.